back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, and Disembodied Hands, Quiddy, Disembodied Beard, John, and Kodiak, who has a very cute puppy. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the late. I slept really bad, and then David got up late, and of course that means I slept late because I had already slept poorly, and so yeah. Late. You reached a weight goal. Good. Yay! That's super awesome. So good that I used you for the stream intro, huh? Does that mean we have to paint 3.14 of a miniature? Percent of a miniature? Yeah, I'm not the expert, Shadow Raven, on the printer. But I mean, really, it's just like the biggest pains in the butt of the printer are like the fumes. And then make sure, obviously you're in Canada, you're probably not going to get earthquakes. So stable surface is probably fine for you. But the alcohol baths, because some provinces and states I know restrict 90% isopropyl. I live in one. So you want that for the cleaning. And then, yeah, having a curing station is good just because, like David was like putting things, like there was a tip he found, it's like put it in a clear glass of water, like a glass, like a wine glass, clear glass, on a tin foil so that it reflects up on the underside of the mini in the sun for an hour, right? All this kind of thing. And I'm like, I would rather just like pay for the cure station and just put it in there on the little turntable and have the UV lights go on and it turns around and cures it. But yeah, so, and other than that, I mean, obviously you'll need to learn how to use lychee or whatever slicer you decide to use. To position things on the plate, to size them. It's not that hard. David learned it in a day. So yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So you're good. You're good, Shadow Raven. Then you're awesome. Yeah, because that's what you use to clean the prints. And you want 90%. You don't want anything lower. I brought all my drinks today because I was so late that I didn't even get to finish my tea. Yeah. If you look around on used sites, I bet you can get a cure station that's pretty cheap. Yeah, it's so convenient because you can just put it down, and for me, for the Elegoo one, you just set the freaking timer and it turns it around and irradiates it, and you're all good. Hey, Trash, how's it going? I'm trying to drink my tea down enough so that I can put its lid on because there was a little bit too much. It's decaf Earl Grey this morning with vanilla creamer, which is actually a pretty awesome flavor combo, vanilla Earl Grey. I'm surprised nobody makes one. There we go. I think I can put my lid on now. Yes, good. Okay. Yeah, well then the person who placed the order actually did the research. That's good. Good, yeah. I mean, it's a fun, if you get into it, Shadow Raven, it is a fun hobby just to print the darn things. So, I mean, if you love watching like a miniature just grow from nothing on the build plate, I actually think it's pretty darn cool. It's definitely addictive because you can just buy this ephemeral file and plug it into your printer, and lo and behold, a beautiful miniature springs forth. So yeah, it is cool. It is cool, and it can be addictive for sure. Out of print paint order for pickup at ReaperCon this year. Yeah. Okay, yeah, just keep us in the loop, Trash. I'm sure there are people here who'd be interested. I mean, it makes sense to do a ReaperCon, right? Or for ReaperCon. More snow. Somebody else had a snow day, they mentioned. Or was that you, Arrowiz, that mentioned that you were playing hooky because of a snow day? Resin, yes, resin printers, the only way to go. Oh, well, not the only way, but yeah. Well, hey, at least you don't have to work. Rain, where you are, Laura. Yeah, I wish. That's what we just had, though, so I have to get out and water the lawn today. Or, sorry, the to-be lawn. I have to make sure my grass seeds stay moist. So and since it's about to hit, it's going to get close to 70 today. So I'm sorry for all of you who have crappy weather. What is it today? This is why I live here. Yeah, 68 degrees. And then the weekend's supposed to be 70s. And, ooh, into next week even. Maybe we've seen our last 50 degrees. I would love that. Absolutely adore that. Ooh, a wind map. That's cool. Wind is weird. I've never actually seen this before. Have you guys seen a wind map? I'm totally derailing the stream, but I don't care. But you have to see this. It's cute little how does the wind blow signs. See? Like they're going swoosh there, and they're going swoosh and swoosh and swoosh. It's really fun. It's really interesting. Anyway, enough about total derailment of the stream. Quindy, take your allergy pill. I'm still suffering from a small fallout of all the rain that we had a couple days ago. Yeah, it depends on if you're doing models or terrain, right? Yeah, my mini factory. They'll take your money. They'll take lots of your money. Wait for the big sales, Shadow Raven. Like buy what you have to, or need to, but make a list of things that you would love to have. I think it was around the holidays where I got, there was a flat 30 or 40% off the whole site. All right. Ugh. Apps for wind, boats, and storms. That's cool. Alrighty. Okay, Sophie. Let's put a little bit of highlight on her skin. We were using a mix of Noma Flesh with. Let's see if I can get my Gnome Flesh in hand here. Nope, that's Oxy Blush. It's not Gnome Flesh. Is that Gnome Flesh? No, that's Shanty Sienna. Apparently, it's the last place I look. Right. Oh, you think so, Shadow Raven. You think so. But remember, you can put more than one mini on the plate once if you've got the lychee. You can do a whole bunch of minis at once. Fill up the plate. Be efficient. Alright, so let's mix up. I'm going to mix up my base skin tone. Then I'm going to mix a highlight for it. And it was Gnome Flesh 4. Got it. Rich Leather 2. Because this is a deviation from my favorite skin tone. And then Magenta, a small drop. Yep. Yeah, my problem there is that I can only afford so many Patreon subscriptions, and there are far more than, just one or two people I like enough. As you all know, I'm sure you're all there too, picking and choosing who you Patreon, which is why I totally appreciate all of you who patron me. Like, I know how hard you had to choose. You have so many things you could choose from. Thank you for choosing Anne. Alright, there we go. Let's see if that matches my beautiful skin tone, and then I'm going to mix highlights. So this is my mix. I used a small drop of magenta, which means I just squeezed it out partially and kind of dabbed it off on the side of the palette. Of course, if you're on a wet palette, you can just do whatever. We're going to mix this up and see what we got. I'm going to put out early access to my new video thing for the YouTube today, hopefully. I need to finish editing it. Alright, so that's close, but I think I actually had a little bit of a rosier tone for her. This looks a little tan. So you have to be careful with the magenta, because magenta is so potent. It's a very high diffusion color, and so even a little bit of it makes a big difference. And so when you're creeping up on whether you want a skin tone that's, just slightly rosy, you can easily go over into pink, outright pink. And we don't want that. That's a little closer. Yeah, I think that's good. We'll do that. For this, since I'm building a highlight and I want my highlights to be warmer anyway, it probably isn't a big deal if it's just a little warm. So I'm okay with this for now. Well, I appreciate that, Shadow Raven. I appreciate it. It does, it literally keeps me going. Literally. Literally keeps me alive. Well, okay. I'd have to get a real job if not for you guys. And I wouldn't be able to put out all this content and make it out in the world, which is important to me. All right, we need some white or off-white. Where's my Assyrian sand? Assyrian sand to the rescue. So if you want to, you can add a little bit more of a warmer color. If you want to add more rich leather for the highlights, you can. If you want to add more of just your regular gnome flesh, you can. It's all in what you want to do when you build highlights for skin. You can just add white if you want to. Perfectly viable. Yeah, Big Apple, I feel it. It's pretty easy for me to ignore social media. I do get dragged over to my mini factory every once in a while. But these days I've just become more demanding, I find. It has to really, really be a model that's right up my alley. What? That is weird. There's not a cloud in the sky, but I just got a sprinkle of something across our roof. Maybe it's pollen. Or like something. I don't know. Something just fell out and went pitter-patter on my roof. But I don't see any clouds, so I'm a little bewildered unless the clouds are behind me. Alright, let's see here. Then let's build another really high highlight over here. That's what I need. But yeah, I've already got STLs that I haven't printed, and so I'm like... not too tempted by a lot of stuff these days. Alright, there we go. It's a nice light color. And this is kind of the transition stages that I'm looking at for layering for 28. You want to be able to see that it's a different color. This might be going a little bit substantially over that. They're about the same distance apart though. Too many spatters for that, Thormo. Maybe a ton of squirrel ninjas stampeding over my roof. Yes, that's possible. Clarice brought her friends. We now have acquired mourning doves for our bird feeder. Apparently the longer you feed, the more birds you get. The mourning doves were living next door, so I wasn't too surprised to see them come over. But it took them a long time. But then doves are not the smartest animals. Oh, that's right. I've got this pinned in, but I don't have it glued in. Alright. I'm going to keep it that way, too. Let's get down and get closer and get in focus. Yeah, fingers crossed on the storms. That was always the fear in Texas. It is kind of the fear here. We don't get any big storms, but when there's a lot of wind. There we go. Tasty tea. Yum, 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 yum. So yeah, today I did a video on, is there a wrong way to hold your brush? Because it was something that David asked me because he holds his brush super weird. So I decided to do a video on that because it lets me talk about building brush control. I actually like them. I've always liked dovies, Shadow Raven. I think they're very pretty birds, and we only have a couple. And I don't mind their low coo noises. Mostly because I hardly hear them because I've got a fountain in the side yard there. So the fountain is loud enough to totally... I haven't really heard much dove noise. My mom doesn't like them either, but I do like them. I just like collecting more birds. Like that's my I want to catch them all, so more different kinds of birds. Sadly, I don't have a feeder big enough for some of the ones that have popped through. So I'm going to get that upper lip. And I'm going to get down the front of the face here, all with highlight. Like the Oriole that stopped by once upon a time wants nothing but grape jelly, and I'm not going to fulfill its addiction. Because that's apparently a thing with Orioles. And the only way to collect and capture my sharp-shinned hawk would be to allow him to eat all the birds on our bird feeder. We only see him every once in a while. I think our side is just a little bit too close, confined for him to be comfortable hunting there. And then the other bird that I really love is our brush jay, who's mostly on the over the back fence, hangs out back there. The big blue bird. I really love him, but I just don't have a bird feeder big enough for him. Yeah, but then I've got rotting oranges sitting around. That's the problem. Everything Orioles like rots really easy. Although it would be a use for all of the oranges on our orange tree in the front yard. It's like totally exploding with blossoms, and I'm like, seriously, tree? You gonna put out that many? Yeah, that's just another thing that I need to go and see to and collect and trash, and yeah. I get it, Thormill. It's just there are certain there's a certain amount of energy I have for the birds in the yard, and it's actually pretty finite. Sophie's wings keep wanting to fly off. I guess I could take them off. There. Got the pin set in, so don't need to keep running into them with my hands. So it's like anything that means another task on my list that needs to be out and taken care of is something I tend to avoid these days. I love my birds, but I love that they're pretty low maintenance. Like, go out, refill the bird feeder every couple days, refill the fountain in the bird bath. Done. Sweep up the seeds. I just feel like I have this tendency to overcommit with my energy. Like, I think I'll have energy to do a thing, but in the end, I end up feeling overwhelmed and like I'm just like way overspent. I think a lot of us do that. So I've gotten very good at just saying no if it's, especially because, you never even know if the Oriole's going to come back. It's not like it came back after the first time it landed in our new tiny maple tree and promptly crashed into it because the limbs were too thin to hold it. So I don't know that it would actually come back. Seems like a lot of work for a bird that might not actually come back. There we go. So see the big difference there. You can also see the difference in how you can see details on the skin. Really? That's interesting, crows. Oh, zero hawks, yeah. Kiki likes, she doesn't like the birds, but she's, okay with them because she knows that I'm okay with them, but she gets super excited with Clarice, the squirrel. And she knows that we hate the rats, so if there's a ratty out there, she's just, at it. She's like, come on, Mom, let me out. I want to chase that rat. I'm going to thin down my base here so I can do a little bit of blending. Thick paint is not going to work for blending. I don't know, we have a lot of trees here in our little town here, Thormill. So I know that they are in the area at least part of the year because our local bird store has a ton of Oriole resources. It's definitely a thing. I'd have to look at my Birds of California to see if they're just migratory or permanent. A lot of birds around here, depending on the food source, a lot of birds are like migratory but can stay, right? Can choose to stay over depending on the food situation. So that's good, Kodiak, yeah. Otherwise you'll have Kiki busting the screen out. David had to repair it. He actually just ordered a new screen and put it in. Because he's handy that way. I would have been like, do I have to order the whole door? And he's like, no, you silly, you just do the screen. I had no idea. Alright, so we got some light coming down here. It's good. Let's get some more highlights. So you can see how, like, really, this looks very lackluster now. Before it looked fine, but now it doesn't. Oh, my mom loves bluebirds. She does, she works with the program around in Wisconsin on the golf courses where they put out bluebird houses and then track how many eggs are laid and hatch and all that. They track the bluebird population. Yeah, labs are kind of famous for being kind of like destruction in progress. Poor impulse control and large dog with much mass. Oh, that's really cool, Lormel. Neat. So just using my thin paint to kind of blend this in. Oh, I should go get Critter. I know some of you are fans of the Critter that I'm prepping for paint. I got Critter's hind legs and tail on last night. And I also pinned the front paw, which the Critter is leaping at an angle, which I'm like, I may correct that with basing. Because I don't really like, I mean, it's extreme and it's dramatic and all that, but it looks a little bit tippy over. Maybe it'll look better once I have the whole thing. The only thing Critter doesn't have yet is a head. I started cleaning off the pieces, but I ran out of oomph last night. Yeah, House for Bluebirds. Yep. Oh yeah, I love swallows. My grandparents had tons of swallows in Wisconsin on their farm. Definitely barn swallows. They all lived in the barns. I'm going to try to get some of this. I'm trying to keep the elbow a little separate here. So with thin paint, I'm just trying to build up layers that are smooth and that transition nicely from one area to another. Yeah, we have bluebirds down at the park at the school, which is down the block from us, but I haven't ever seen one around here. There are so many. I hesitate to put up birdhouses in this area because there are so many rats. And they are arboreal. They're totally capable of climbing, and they will. And I can't think that that would be great for the bird population. And any tree that's low enough for me to put a house in is probably too low. So I was really surprised. I always watch the birds, how they're fighting over the bird feeder and see who comes out on top. And the other day, one of my little juncos, which are such little, like, they kind of disappeared when the house finches first moved in, and then they came back recently. But they're little brown birds with reddish brown backs and black hoods. And they're cute as the dickens. So I always thought of them as very reserved birds until I saw one of them just like, "You, get off my lawn," like on the bird feeder. Totally took on birds that were bigger than it. And is like, "No way, my turf." And then proceeded to gobble down a bunch of seeds. So I was amazed. I've also seen like the tiny little lesser goldfinches like take on some of those bigger birds if they really want the food. They're just like, "You know what? I am more determined than you are. Even though I am tiny." It's very fun. Very funny. Right, yeah. So that's just it. There's squirrels around here, and there's rats and mice, and they're all always looking for a snack. So I would have to do something specialized to put up a birdhouse, and then who knows if I'd even get the thing that I wanted to nest there. So I've kind of decided to just leave that part of it to nature and just feed the little buggers, feed and water them, give them their bath. They have bath space, they have water, and they have food. It's good enough. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, house sparrows, yep. I've never seen a house sparrow here in our yard. We have the stripy head sparrows. Yep. Yeah, we don't have like true goldfinches, we have lesser goldfinches, which are still pretty. The males have really bright yellow bellies, but their tops are olive green and black and white. And they're little. And I thought they were dumb, but they were the only ones who figured out they could actually take baths in the fountain, so I don't know if I can call them dumb anymore. And they also figured out that there's really tasty seeds at the big bird feeder, and that if they're very determined, they can fight off the bigger birds. Cool. Yeah, my grandparents' house when I was a kid had Orioles. The orange ones, the orange and black ones. Like the Baltimore Oriole kind of Oriole. That was the only time up until and when I was here, the Oriole that landed in our tree was actually yellow. Those are the only times in my life I've ever seen live Orioles. I did like seeing the hawk, and I wish it would eat the mice instead of birds, but apparently they're big bird predators. There we go. Yeah, that's probably why we don't have martins here. And we don't have mosquitoes in general because the water The water features are either like are in motion, very limited because we have we've got the bay, right, and saltwater. We don't have a lot of fresh water. Certainly not standing fresh water. So yeah, it's rare to see mosquitoes out here. Makes it very nice for walking in the evening, though. Getting a little bit of the ear up there. So yeah, I'm very happy with the further highlights on the skin. We thought they looked good before, but now you can see the difference that if you keep going, right? This is what I always tell you guys of the rule about, you know, highlight it till you think it looks good and then put 1 or 2 more highlights on it. This is where that rule comes from. Skin tones particularly. Because it looks just ever so much better now. Even though there's a highlight on this arm and we could see it before, this looks better. But beginning painters and intermediate painters both can get scared of highlighting too much, and it's like, you really shouldn't be scared of it. The worst case scenario is if you put too many highlights on, if you highlight too much and you feel like it looks bad, you can almost just glaze or wash to get the highlights to go down again. So it's not a hard thing to do. Essentially, this highlight is more like we'd expect to see on an overcast day, and then when you start bringing in the higher lights, it's more like sunshiny or normal, like more bright indoor light. When I'm blending, I'm using a super fine brush stroke with very little pressure and very little paint on my brush to get almost seamless transitions. It's painstaking and time consuming. And I'm going to be doing an awful lot of it on my Games Workshop entry. I decided also to do metallics for my GW entry. Decided that I didn't really want to do NMM, and so I decided that, and I may curse this, but I decided I'm going to do shaded metallics. May even mostly use GW metallics. I'll use Master Series for shading, of course, for the actual color. The armor is gold, and I just didn't want to do... Could have done a bunch of gold NMM, but I decided I want to do metallics. Well, this will be for my Golden Demon project, Shadow Raven, so the only place I'll likely be doing it is on my own Twitch stream on Saturdays. And I am planning to do that this Saturday, but I may start a little bit earlier because my Overwatch stuff has started and I don't want to miss all of it. So if I start a little earlier, then I don't miss as much of the live broadcast. Like, I started just a half hour earlier this last weekend, and I thought that was pretty good, so probably do the same thing. Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I won't start with the metallics anyway. I'll start with something else. Probably start with Critter. Critter will let me figure out my color scheme, how I'm going to execute it. Yeah, and to be fair, I'm not sure how much of the competition level painting I'm going to be doing on my stream. Um, GW like style, it takes forever if you're doing the blending, which I want to do, and it's distracting on stream. Like, I don't know that I'll be able to do as high quality a product, so I may not be doing a lot of it on stream. Like, I may need to get seriously in the zone for that, and that means ignoring chat and just painting, and that means I just don't do it on stream. So we'll see. We'll see how much urge I have to do it off stream. Lately, I've been working on it almost every night. If you want to learn shade metallics, all you have to do is like go back and watch Karindra and the dwarf that we did. So, I mean, we've done shaded metallics before. Will I do like more complex shaded metallics for Golden Demon? Oh yeah, probably. But there's going to be a lot of kind of trial, just kind of trying crap and seeing if it works. But I mean, shaded metallics, not super hard. I mean, mostly you're just like throwing colors onto the metallics after you put on your base. And you start with a lighter base if you want the colors to really show up. Like NMM is, and plus I use the same principles on my shade metallics for highlighting as I do on NMM. So that is the same. It's just trying to execute with metallic. Using NMM techniques can be a little more challenging, depending on the model and what you're doing. But yeah, a lot of the times I like to do my competition painting in private. Like, in order to stay motivated, like I have to have that. I have to be able to like have that surprise reveal. Though you guys will probably get peeks at it. But we'll see how much of it I actually want to do on stream. I'm not sure. I have to do what I have to do to stay motivated for it, if I'm going to do it, so. It's not. Shaded metallics, you can do very simple treatments and get a great result because the shine is taken care of for you always. So, like, I mean, you really can do the whole throw a bunch of washes at it, re-highlight it, and it looks great. There's as many different ways to do shaded metallics as there are painters, though. Everybody, I find, has a different philosophy for it. They tackle it a little differently. It's a little bit too linear on here, so I'm going to brush some color over the top of it and take it down a little. There we go. It's a little better. But yeah, the hardest part about shaded metallics is understanding that you can't, with some exceptions, you really can't layer with flake. So you have to think about shading down watercolor style instead of highlighting up if you want smooth transitions. The easiest way around that is just to do textured transitions. Just trying to get a little bit more here. I used to tell my dogs that it was the dog in the sky when thunder came and growled at them. Yeah, they are pretty alien. He's like, what's on my walk? This is my walk. Get off my walk, you silly beasts. Now I need to smooth transitions on the arm here because we wouldn't have those big creases on this side. So I'm going to grab some of my mid highlight. Kind of start blending that in. Yeah, most lab responses are eat. I mean, pretty much almost anything. That's why more labs have to go in for like abdominal surgery after swallowing foreign objects than most other breeds. Yeah, as long as you don't make a big deal out of thunderstorms, your dog won't make a big deal out of it. There is definitely a genetic predisposition to noise sensitivity, but from what I've seen with my many litter evaluations. But at the same time, if your dog doesn't have that, then if you don't make a big deal of it, they won't. So trying to smooth that out. Same lab who busted screens ate gravel. Oh no. Oh, meeting time. Bye, Crowley. So just kind of blending that stuff off so we can keep the little suggestion of musculature back here. But yeah, blending is very slow. If you want it to look nice, you just need to relax and take your time. So David and I planned a trip to go down to Monterey in April, but I won't miss any streams because I think we're leaving early afternoon on Friday. We like to go down there and look at art. And if I ever did a painting retreat, it would actually be down in that neck of the woods. Because there's a conference center just off of the Dunes State Park by the ocean that I think would be a good fit. Obviously, Automod does not like humor. It always assumes the worst. Automod always assumes the worst. Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever do it, Shadow Raven. It just still takes money that I don't have. But, you know, I'm one of those people who would just kind of like start looking into it just to see what the cost would be and etc., etc. Little feet. And Luca's missing it. Well, I could save, but it would take a lot of effort. Because, and I'd probably have to cancel some other things that I'm saving toward. Though I'm usually pretty good. One of the tricks that I use is to, here's my little foot, I make a new savings account, and at this point I have enough accounts that on my mobile app I can, essentially the later accounts will be hidden if I order them that way. And so if it's hidden, I never notice it. So it's actually how I save money for vacations, is I have my vacation and fun account, and it never shows up on my main dashboard. But I put money in it every time I get paid. Yes, exactly, Quindy. Yep. Yeah, so my tiny vacay account essentially just gets, I have like a certain percentage of money that goes into a bunch of my different accounts every time. It's twice a month, so it's my Patreon payday, and then I do another one halfway through the month, just for my Reaper checks and stuff, and my Twitch. And then, yeah, then I hide that money, and I don't look at it at all until I need to take a trip. And then there's always enough for an airline ticket or a couple days of hotel or whatever, or some spending money. It's a good way to do it. Like, I only put, out of the money I make, I put 10% in there, Kodiak. So like, if my Twitch and my Reaper paychecks, add up to $500, halfway through the month, then $50 goes in the vacay account. And all the rest of it goes to, expenses and saving for taxes and stuff like that. Paying myself so that I can live. That kind of thing. Paying myself so that I can contribute to the household, etc. But yeah, it's a really good idea when you're tight with money, just to take that, and it doesn't even have to be like 10%. It could just be 5%, right? It still adds up, but pretty much ask yourself kind of where you want to be in a year with your vacation fund, and decide on an appropriate percentage or an appropriate amount. So yeah, figure out. You could use this year's ReaperCon to figure out how much it would cost you to go with flights and everything, or whatever. or driving if you're driving. And then that you know your target, so then you can divide that by 12 and figure out how much per month you'd have to save up. But yeah, it's a nice little trick, because otherwise, if an emergency comes up, I tend to want to pull money out of those accounts. But if the account isn't even on my radar, then I'm able to be more disciplined about that. So, I should say an emergency or an impulse buy. I do have an emergency account. Like, I have a specific account for emergencies that I keep several $1,000s in. I've had that for since before I went freelance. That one also gets added too. Because that one, for little things like car repairs and stuff like that, it does get depleted. I think that was the smartest thing I ever took away from Dave Ramsey, to have an emergency savings. Even if there's only $500 in it. Because it saves my bacon when there's an unexpected medical bill, or like when the car's catalytic converter got ripped off. Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's it, Dave Ramsey. Yeah, that's the other thing that he advises, He's like, first, save up an emergency fund. Otherwise, all your other money will get depleted once an emergency happens, right? Then, start paying off everything with extra money. Yeah. That's what I did to become debt-free. I pretty much followed the Ramsey plan. And it worked. So now I take that, and instead of putting, money toward each of my bills or each of my credit cards a month, I put it toward various bank accounts, including my vacation account. The one thing that I need to do this year, though, sooner rather than later, is I do need to start putting more money into my retirement accounts. That's always the thing that gets pushed off, right? Although I intend to be writing until I'm 80, but but it would be nice to, also have a little a nest egg for those years. So there we go, guys. There's the skin. So you can see how much the skin comes up. Now here, trying to get this pin in the socket is difficult. Okay, well, fine. So now when we hold her wings up, they look very dim. So I do want to put a little bit more highlighting on them. Not a lot, mostly in the tops and the bottoms, because there's a lot of shadows. Alright, so that's great, Tristoma. Yep. Yeah, that sounds smart, Twistedoma. Take that money and roll it into paying down the debt you had to accrue. Because the last thing you guys want is if something happens to you to have to deal with that debt on top of everything else. Smart move, smart move. Applause. I'm afraid I'm very anti-debt. That's the only thing that David and I disagree on. He thinks there is still some useful debt, and I don't. But we can agree to disagree on that one for now, so. If there ever came a time when we weren't doing so well, I would have to put my foot down, but we're doing okay, so. Yeah, I'm a very anti-debt Anne. I spent too many years crushed under it to feel friendly toward it. There we go. So a little bit more light up on top. We'll put a little bit more light up there and we'll kind of blend that in. I don't want it to be everywhere. But I just want the wings that are especially showing near her skin tones to have that lighter color. So let's pop this up here. Yeah, that looks much better. So now that we've got that light on that wing and that top of that inner membrane, it looks really nice and it matches the skin, and then we don't care so much down here. So I'm going to do that across on both sides, even though there's very little room over here. Yeah, yeah, when you've been there for a while, you just grow to hate Dad, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'll still put things on a credit card if it's like an unexpected thing or like a medical thing or something like that, but I won't. Sometimes if it's a bigger expenditure for on vacation, I'll put it on the credit card and I pay it off immediately when we get back from the trip. So I still keep some credit. I have a very good credit rating, but I don't like using it. So just a little bit of light up there. Kind of trying to keep it at the same level across here. Yeah, that's good, Volnavia. That's a good position to be in. Oh, yeah, Thormil. Yeah, yeah. Yep, when you come up from poor, that, yep. I spent a lot of time after I was out of my parents' house and in college and out of college being very poor. And I hadn't really been given many tools to manage money very well. So I had to learn the hard way. Like, I wish that was something that like kids were taught in school more, like how bad debt is. Except that so many people disagree on that, right? That's the problem. And when I was, they probably still do this. I don't know if they do, but when I was going to college, every credit card company on the earth would send you a pre-approved app. So I got sucked in early. Yeah. Yeah. For sure, Twisted Oma. See, I think that you can get away from those things, Twisted Oma, if you can save up the money. Like right now, I have an investment account alongside my retirement accounts, and over the years, I have chunked a lot of money into that account. And now, if I needed a new car, if the Element died, I would be able to pay cash for a used car that was not too terrible. And the longer it goes on without me needing a new car, the more money I'll accrue in that account, and so the better a used car I will be able to get. So I really feel like car debt, especially, is something that can be got around. House debt's a lot harder. There's not many people that can pay cash down for a home. I mean, there are people who do it. They save up like crazy to do it. I am not that person, but right, yeah. Right, exactly. When you're on a fixed income, you gotta be careful. Yep. Yeah, exactly, Laura. That's what I figure. Is like when the Element dies, I'll cash out that stock account, pay my capital gains tax, and buy a new one, buy a used one. Yeah, you definitely want to have a good credit rating. Like that takes carrying some debt here and there. But Overall, though, I really am not a fan of the fact that that's true. Like, I just wins because I've had so many friends who are just like buried in debt and crushed by it, and I hate it. Nice. Ah, I see. First time buyer subsidy. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, especially in recent years, Laura's, that's for sure. Yep. But like there, I think that Twisted Oma is smart. You know, when you get an extra bit of money, use it to put in extra payments on the house. If nothing else, they'll usually you'll be ahead on the house then. So if something happens, maybe you can skip a couple payments. Some banks will do that, or used to do that. I don't know if they still do, but I always felt like that was smart. Yeah, some people have to build those habits, Twisted Oma. Like, it's not like everybody comes out with an understanding of that. Like, I was terrible with money for a very long time. It took direct experience and discomfort and pain for me to finally wrap my head around being, smart about money. But yeah, and I know a friend who retired, but like your hubby didn't understand what a fixed income meant, and she ended up having to go back to work because she'd gone through too much of her money. So yeah, it's definitely it can be a scary thing, and it can be a hard thing to work with. Yeah, Deborah, I'm with you there. Right. Even a unit on how the compounded interest like can really get you in over your head really fast. But of course, credit card companies would not want, that kind of education on the school docket. It's up to parents. And my parents just really didn't my parents did not talk about money. They were that generation and that like Midwestern thing. It was considered rude. And so like I came out with just like nothing. Like I feel like I had no tools. All the tools for managing money that I have now, I had are hard won for sure. Yeah, for sure, Twisted Oma. That's why I'm painting it as if it's in regular lighting. The lantern's not in a very good position for OSL overall. I might do a little bit of a tiny glow right around the lantern, but it won't go very far because it's like it would have to be right up against the wing. Because the problem with this model is that when you socket it into position, let's see if I can get this pin to actually go in again. Just the way her body gets in the way. And so, unless the lantern was up here, it would be just a very odd kind of OSL, and so I chose not to do it. Um, so I may imply that it's for later and just have a little bit of glow right here on the inside of the wing, but that would be all. Ah, Twitch. Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, since the position of the lantern makes OSL not very advisable, um, I might do a little glow right here, but that's the only place you're going to be able to see it. Maybe a tiny touch of it on her hair, but that's it, probably. It's just not a great position. It would be better if there was a lantern, like if the wings were way forward, but they'd have to be super way forward and it wouldn't look right. Um, so yeah, that's the problem with this lantern in OSL and the positioning of it. It's just not a great position. Maybe if they had sculpted, instead of this little claw being back, if they had sculpted the claw holding the lantern out this way, then you could get away from hitting the silhouette of her body over the page, and you could actually do the OSL. It would be very directional. Like if you put it holding the lantern like right here, you'd have a right side OSL that you could do. Thanks, Twitch. Right when I'm actually trying to like talk about something on topic, Twitch is like, I'll crash now because she's talking on topic. I'll wait till people are in. Everybody back? Waiting for peeps. Should I sing the Jeopardy song? All right, good deal. All right, Twitch, no more of that. So, Turgeon, I'm almost at the 40,000 word mark in the novel, and I'm just about hitting the halfway point. So I think we're looking at an 80,000 word novel for Rite of Winter. I could see trying that on a bigger model, seriously. But the problem here is that the lantern doesn't hit the page. Look. Like, the lantern hits just like maybe this, and it's far away. So I wouldn't want to do that. Like, I don't know that idea would carry at this scale and with only that amount of page. But it is a cool idea. Except I'd rather do it, again, with a model that has a proper light source here and have the letters fading in as they swept across both pages. So we've got some light here. I want to bring up a little bit more back here. But yeah, that would be a cool idea. You could heat it. I don't know. I mean, I assume you could refreeze it, but you'd have to cut the lantern. Because the lantern isn't hanging free, it's actually stuck to the wing. That's why I said this would be a better sculpt if the claw had been sculpted going forward, holding the lantern, right? Maybe you would have had to make it a separate piece, but you could have done that, and then it would have been a better OSL subject. Some models are just not really good topics for OSL. Even though the sculptor has done the thing, it might not actually be, because remember, most sculptors aren't like high-level painters who think about OSL necessarily. Although technically, if you're doing 3D sculpting, you should be able to light it, right? You should be able to make the lantern a light source. That would let you test, hypothetically. Yes, it got a re-release, and Bones White version is crap, Shadow Raven. Get the new one. Sorry, did I say that out loud? It did not carry well in Bones 1 because it's too bendy and it lost detail. This is the best. This is Bones USA. Well, then I also have to saw part of the wing off because the lantern is attached to the wing, guys. And I have to resculpt both the lantern and the wing just to make an OSL effect possible that I don't really want to do anyway. Remastered and re-released, yeah. Sorry, Reaper. Sorry, Reaper, but this model did not look good in Bones 1. It looks amazing in Bones 2. That's what the sculptor, like, if you really want to do this OSL, then the lantern needed to be in a different place, guys. But am I willing to do all that work for this model? No. No, I'm not. Flat out. Not my project. If you wish to do that, absolutely. But I will not be doing that. Because it's just some models I just don't have that amount of room for. I mean, we've done OSL before. I am happy, very, very happy to do a really cool OSL model when the positioning of the light makes it obvious. Like, that's the best OSL position, in my opinion. Up and to the front and slightly off center. So if you want OSL practice, get the mouse sling and paint it. I've got all of those lessons are on the Reaper Pro Tips. And if you want to do OSL on this one, you can. But I'm not going to. In fact, I'm kind of annoyed that the lantern is there at all. Because of that. Like, I would almost clip the lantern off and resculpt the wing to not have a lantern. I mean, I feel like for a larger model, you have more room to do the lettering. But I still don't think that if this was if it was a larger version of this model, I don't know that I would do it. You would have to change the position of the lantern a little bit for it to be viable, in my opinion. So if you had this in 75mm and you wanted to do the cut and reposition and conversion, absolutely. I feel like it's hard to do faded because lettering already is so small when you do it at 28mm, seriously. But on a bigger book, you could do it a lot better and you would be able to show the fade a little bit better, I think. Especially if you're trying to do lettering in a color, which can be really challenging on small books. This is a normal size mouseling, though. This guy is a regular old mouseling. He's not a big a mouse. We did a big a mouse. We just haven't like actually figured out how to base him. Big a mouse. Big a mouse is here. He's huge. So, like, that's the difference. So, yeah, the Gigantomouseling, different from... This is a regular size mouseling. Same scale. I did that one on stream too, seriously. You can look that one up. The fun size mouseling. Ah, okay. Right. Okay, Quindy, thanks for that clarification. Yeah, but this is a normal size mouseling, this guy. So. Alrighty. Let's blend in these wings a little bit more, and then we'll go and do some work on hair. But yeah, this is a normal size guy. Normal size guy. And we also have that that henchman or a warrior that's carrying a torch that we can do. We also did Snack. Remember Snack? Snack. Snack. So we did this OSL as well for a different position. So we've done quite a few. This is an Nagendra Sorceress, I think. So we've done a couple of OSL pieces on this stream. So it's not like I veer away from doing OSL. It's just that if I'm going to do OSL, I want it to be like I need the light source to be in the correct position for it, the optimal position for it. Otherwise, I'm backlighting a figure with very little light on the front, which would be interesting, but also boring. And probably annoying. Alright, I'm going to finish blending these wings, I swear, and then I'm going to at least base coat the hair. Snack is from a while ago. Surgeon. Yeah, we did a lot of minis back around the time of Snack that were very interesting minis, including the Spirit Beast, which had the water effects on it. The Snack playlist. Thanks, Quindy. Snack has a playlist. She's all pleased with herself. I talk a lot on that about how color of light affects the color of the underlying surface, as I recall. There we go. All right. I'm going to put a little bit of light down here on the bottom, and then we're going to switch. Hopefully those are in order, yeah. Yeah, I think it was like flower petals or something, like, because there's the plum tree is flowering, and there's another flowering tree over our neighbor's fence in the backyard, and I think the wind is blowing stuff from their trees onto our roof. That, again, is where scale gets you, Shadow Raven. When things are so tiny, doing cool stuff like that is not really a thing. That would be something for a bust that was holding a lantern. You could put a fairy inside that. Oh yeah, go Spirit Beast. Spirit Beast is really good. We did the magenta and green paint scheme for that, and the mix that makes blue. Plus the water effect. Plus the spots. It's animal patterns on that too. Spirit Beast is awesome. There we go. I like that. We'll do that. Yeah, it makes sense because the latest video is going to be the first one on the playlist. You know, it was the last one. Most recent one, right? So you just have to go down to the bottom of the playlist and start from the bottom. Alrighty, we're almost the end of stream. Do I want to put hair on now? I think we'll go more red this time. So my original color for Sophie's hair was mahogany brown. This is auburn shadow. Auburn shadow is a much more natural dark red hair color, but the mahogany has more red and it's colder. We'll just base coat with the mahogany. Something true that very few people agree with me on. You were asking for unpopular opinions. In short, you were asking for hot takes. However, there really should be something that you think is true that very few people agree with you on, as ultimate truths are sometimes hard to find. Alright guys, let's put that hair and color in place, and we'll probably go more gothy with this Sophie. I want to do her more of a cool kind of palette, so... The most inferior hot dog topping of all time. You know, I kind of agree with you on that one, Shadow Raven. Although, I don't know. Most inferior. Actually, for me, ketchup has to be the most inferior. It used to be my favorite, but now I can't have tomatoes, so... Tomatoes are awful. Truth is variable. Yes. And that is a truth that many people will disagree with you on. So you've won the contest, green users. You've gone. I love pineapple pizza. But I can't have it anymore because of the tomato thing. Luckily I can still have pineapples. It's just the pizza sauce that doesn't work. And pineapple pesto pizza is not the same, and I don't like Alfredo sauces. So yeah, I just stopped having pizza pretty much. But yeah, I think Green Users has the best answer. Truth is variable. It's true, but many people would disagree with you about it. Oof. Oof, CHV. I don't want to live in either of those worlds. But then I tend to have a faith in humanity. Not in humans, but in humanity. go. So this is a much colder red. It's a much bluer red. It's a much more unnatural auburn, but I like it. And she's a succubus. Not anymore, Pendrake, because mushrooms also have FODMAPs in them. I love mushrooms, and I still will eat a couple. The big thing about most of the stuff with IBS is that you can still have small amounts of it. You can't have big amounts of it. But for me, tomatoes are non-negotiable. Like, I have an extreme reaction to them, so I just avoid them entirely. And mushrooms I have a lesser reaction to, but I still have a reaction. And once you experience life without gastrointestinal discomfort, like, you want to stay there. But I've always been very good at responding to, like, health deterrents. Like, if there's one thing that'll make me change my behavior, it's like, if I have a health issue, I am instantly, like, marching the way I ought to be. It'd be kind of cool to give Sophie a white streak in her hair here. Maybe I'll think about that. A rogue streak. Oh, interesting, Trauma. That's good. I like shiitakes. But I don't like oysters, so, for the most part. But that's cool to know about shiitake mushrooms, Thormel, because that means I can still make my green bean casserole if I use shiitakes instead of regular mushrooms. For the green bean casserole for Thanksgiving. So I love making that stuff, and I make my own cream of mushroom soup for that. But yeah, good to know about the shiitakes. I really like them. They are more expensive. Alright. Yeah, so maybe we'll give Sophie a white streak. Although that strand of hair coming down the inside is a little problematic. But yeah, maybe we'll give her a white streak in her hair on this one. Just for fun. She's kind of gothic here. I feel this is like kind of a gothic piece, so I'm going to keep that there, and we'll just think about going that way. All right, folks. I think we're about where we need to be, but there's the first. This is start. Oh, we missed a little bit of hair. Yeah, the only thing about meatless is just trying to make sure you get enough protein and complete proteins. Are you still doing eggs and dairy, or are you totally plant-based, Trash? No, Cannon. Well, she has been around for a while, you know. Oh. Yes, various sausages. Eggs and dairy are good. Oh yeah, that makes it so much easier. I was gonna say, I went very plant-based at one point in my life, when I was trying to lose weight out of college, and it was just hard to get sufficient protein and complete protein if you didn't do eggs and dairy. But I love eggs. I loved eggs, but I had just come back from a visit to the UK where I actually got food poisoning from eggs. So even though I loved eggs, I hated eggs for like 2 years, like 2.5 years. I couldn't touch eggs. Vegan. Yeah, I actually went to a vegan restaurant just for funsies when I was in Florida visiting my uncle. Because I walked by on my way to the Chihuly exhibit, and I was like, really? That looks interesting. So I tried it. But yeah, I am a carnivore though. I am a carnivore. So at this point in my life, and I think from here on out. But then I don't have that reaction you do, right? If I had that reaction, then I wouldn't be. So I totally get it. When your health sends you a message, it's good to take notice. Not a good way to lose weight, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had my best success on keto, and that's high fat, high protein, and not vegetable type protein, because beans are high carb, so. But everything works differently for different people. Like, I mean, pastries are vegetarian. So yeah, not a good way to lose weight. Indeedy. All right, guys. Quarter after, so I think we're good. Tomorrow, bee here for the bee. Doo-doo-doo. It's bee time. We were working on highlighting his little face last time, and I think it came out very nicely. So we'll continue working on his dark parts, I think. Yeah, that's the problem. And beans and tofu are incomplete proteins, so yeah, fish, eggs, and chicken. Yep, for sure, Big Apple. Yeah, some people can't do it, Shadow. Like, I was able to do it, but like, I wouldn't be able to do a high-carb diet because my body just reacts badly to it, so. I had mozzarella sticks for dinner, oh no. So yeah, tomorrow is B, so do come back and be there, or be square, or be hexagonal. All right, guys, I hope you have a really good one, and I will see you again tomorrow. Quindy, as always, thank you for shepherding the stream along and making sure that Twitch doesn't twitch too badly upon us, or at least that we recover from it. I'm very, very tired and slap happy, so I reserve the right to be part of the hive on this one. All right? Laters, guys. Bye-bye.